Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including the Steven Universe movie, which we'll be getting into right now. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Delaney Stovall.
Hey, y'all.
Michelle Anderer.
Hello.
Sam Quattro.
Hello.
And a bunch of other people, which we'll be hearing from as the podcast goes on. We have a Fact House to react to the big Steven Universe movie, which just aired on Cartoon Network. We're recording this immediately after the movie, and we are very excited to talk about everything from the movie and give all of our reactions. Find us at overlyanimated.com. Search Steven Universe Overly Animated on your favorite podcast app, or our YouTube is youtube.com/overlyanimated. Yes, again, we've seen it once. We're recording this immediately, so let's get very brief initial thoughts after seeing the movie. Delaney.
Hi. I liked it. It was okay.
It was
Yay.
What do you mean you liked it? It was okay.
I mean, I liked it, and it was okay. I'm still trying. It wasn't as great as I thought it was going to be, but I guess that's what happens when you have expectations. I don't know. It was fine. I liked it. It was like watching an entire Steven Universe episode, and it's like, wow, we could do so much if every episode of Steven Universe is 90 minutes. I liked it. It was cool. Nothing here was different than every other episode of Steven Universe. I think it actually hurt marathoning because the last 3 episodes that actually aired are way better than this movie.
Ooh, okay.
But I really did. I liked the movie. I do really like Spinel. I guess I'm just going to kind of stick on something. They were doing a bunch of stuff for this premiere. Rebecca Sugar, they kept having everybody, and they'd say a sentence, and then move on. And Rebecca Sugar said that this isn't just for fans; it's for new people. And I think they did a lot for new people and not much for fans. But it was fine. I liked it. It was good. I would watch it again. I liked all the songs. It was very much. It's very much a farewell tour. Which I know we're getting another season, but it was a farewell tour, and I liked it. I'm not super crazy about it, but there are definitely moments I enjoyed.
Okay. Yes. I anticipate others reacting like that, but we'll see. We have a lot of people to give their reactions, so we can see here. Michelle, what do you think of this? And I believe you and Alex also saw this once before as well.
Yes, we did. We saw it last Monday, but I think it really hit me a lot more tonight because I'm emotionally drained. I think that's really a frequent feeling after seeing Steven Universe, but especially because I get where Delaney's coming from, but I'll say, I feel even though this movie did a lot to kind of catch you up pretty succinctly on where all the gems are with their introductory songs for this movie, I feel it did a lot to serve longtime fans too, and I think that's part of the reason it hit me so hard. There's so many things I want to talk about, and there's so many things that aren't totally wrapped up either. We're gonna get to that chest being open in Lion's Mane because
we're not talking about that tonight. Absolutely not.
But in general, every song was so good. I love Spinel. I love that we had such a sense of her being this antagonistic, menacing person, but she's also really, really funny. And that totally surprised me seeing the movie. And I think it's one of the best decisions they made. I mean, everyone was so good. I don't know. I feel very happy with this movie, and I think it definitely speaks to Steven being in a slightly more grown up place now too. But clearly, leaving the story not being over and being yeah, there is no such thing as a happily ever after. I think it's an important thing to also kind of cement there too. So I'm really, really happy, very emotionally drained, but I think this movie was such a testament to the crew, and it felt very much like a Steven episode, but in the best way possible. It felt like a culmination of all the good work they've been doing for 6 years now? So for me, I thought it was phenomenal, honestly. Good job all around, Crewniverse.
Okay. First applause of the night there. Thank you, Michelle. Those are good thoughts here. Sam, who are you? I feel we have the two sides of the debate with Delaney and Michelle's reactions. Would you describe yourself either way or different?
I say I would side more with Delaney. I really did like the second act, but third act of it, I was kind of okay, are we really doing this right now? Is this really what this movie is about and coming up to? It did feel like a good summation of what the show has been. And as Delaney said, it kind of does feel like a lot of stuff for newcomers and that sort of thing. But there were like a lot of stuff for fans of the show too. It's kind of in the great tradition of these animated movies of shows like the Hey Arnold movie or Doug's movie or like yada yada yada, where it's basically just the plot of the show expanded and maybe a little bit more elaborated on. And in that regard, I thought it was good. I thought it was okay. There were some things I wasn't too much of a fan of, but we'll get into that.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get into all of it. Now we got some more reactions from some other people here again.
The entire peanut gallery.
Looking for brief.
Excuse me, I'm not a peanut.
The first of our peanuts is here, Alex Bonilla.
Yep, all of you are peanuts. Or you can be bits. You can be French fry bits.
Yeah, fry bits.
The bits.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much to Alex for outlining the episode today. Alex also had seen it before. So, Alex, what do you think of the movie? And what do you think of viewing it for the second time?
I really enjoyed the movie. I think now it's going to be 4 for 4 in saying that this is kind of a representation of what Steven Universe is. Like the message, if you like boiled it down to a sentence, you'd be like, that's like the simplest thing ever. Like, why are we spending 90 minutes on this? But the show is able to deliver that message in such a beautiful and moving way that like it feels so great. Spinel is great. She's very cartoony and I love that about her. I can probably see some people being a bit annoyed because that's not usually the Steven Universe way, but like as someone who has been watching like OKKO, for example, like that kind of injection of newness to Steven Universe, it definitely feels great. The music is great as always. Like I think that following in the line of episodes like Mr. Greg and Change Your Mind, which have been these musical-oriented ones, this is kind of another home run in terms of so many songs that are done really well in the different styles. So this movie, on second watch, is probably, I think, about the same level of not the same level of excitement, because with the first time we watched it among like hundreds of Steven Universe fans, so that was just like a totally unique experience I'll never have again. But it was still a really good movie, even on second watch, and I think that there's a lot to talk about. But yeah, I'm on the side of really loving it. Maybe not as good as Change Your Mind, but Change Your Mind is such a high bar. So the movie is great, and I do think that calling it a summary of what Steven Universe is probably an accurate thing, and I wouldn't say a bad thing.
Yes. That's a good point. Can be a summary of the movie and still be good. Okay, so we have Beatrice Murad here now. Where do you fall on the movie?
So I have a lot of emotions and thoughts about it. I too feel emotionally drained after it. And it's more, I think, I guess you can say like, oh, this is the spirit of the show. This captures what the show is about. It could be like a summary of the show, the Spark Notes version. Sure, why not? But for me, it made me not like Steven. It made this whole movie,
the character,
the Steven.
No.
Like, it made me
the Steven, yeah.
Kicking her out.
It just, I don't know, it just made me not like him. It made me for the first time, it made me dislike him and made me grade him. And
what's the brief reason why?
Because of the deep voice.
I understand.
Is it because he's older and he's not 14 anymore?
No.
Is it because of the neck? I think it's the neck.
Let her answer.
It's totally the neck. No, that was a really nice thing to see. Like, oh, he has a neck. That was lovely. Pro neck. But I don't know. I just felt like I don't want to jump into that third act, but just that switch between him being like, oh my God, I've had this all along. It's all about change. And I, like, this is why, like, that realization of who he's always been and whatever, for me, it read as phony. Like, I was like, oh, so now you care? It's because that's how you've always been, but that doesn't change the fact that you were like, not responding well to this person. I understand he's 14, he's 16, he's still a kid and whatever. And I understand it's like he had his happy ever after and now here's something threatening and it's like it's a normal human emotion to be annoyed that's like once again, like, no, I did it and this isn't what I deserve is my happy ending and now I get this person who's threatening it. And so I understand, but I don't know, for some reason I felt not as much sympathy as I expected to feel for Steven by the end. And that moment of that revelation of him, whatever it is, how we were going to describe him regaining his feelings, for me at least, I didn't feel was earned. And maybe it's a testament to Spinel. Like, in the beginning, I was like, okay, Spinel, like, okay, you're a lot. But then I was like, oh, I get who you are. Oh, I can sympathize with the villain. And maybe it is a testament to the show that I sympathize with the villain in this more than I sympathize with the protagonist. I don't know, but that was just me. I mean, that doesn't take away from the fact that she was, but at one point I was like, oh goodness, you're bad. But in terms of like evil, not bad in character.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's just something that I needed.
Okay, so it's not the neck. I will say that moment of Steven is like, it was changed. That was the missing ingredient. That did not play well in the room. For reference, everyone besides Michelle and Delaney was in person for this. And that I think we'll dive into that more. I kind of agree with in that moment not landing too well, but it's also hard without like rewatching and processing the themes of the movie better. You know, we have a very raw take, I think, so far.
Right. I mean, again, a lot of my takes will be raw.
Yeah, all of these takes are raw. So yes, okay, thank you, Beatrice. We now have Sarah Potter here. Sarah, what are your overall thoughts of the movie? More in line with the pro, the slightly less pro. That's how I'll characterize it.
So I think this movie is like, again, I think as people are saying, it's like a perfect summation of the show itself. There are things I wish it did differently, like in terms of like delving into things, like exploring different emotions a little deeper, or like some of the darker sides of things a little deeper. But at the same time, I was smiling the entire movie. It's still like, I loved every song. I loved everything here. It's just, I wanted different, but at the same time, that different isn't what Steven is. And I think going into this wanting that different thing is kind of asking for something different than it is. I'm just like, I'm not sure how you fix that really. Like, cause I wanted Spinel to not turn the way she did at the end that second time, but that wouldn't be Steven Universe if they did that.
So you're saying maybe the things people find to be flaws with this are just things that are always true of the show?
Yeah, I think it's always true. Cause I mean, like, we had that issue with, Change Your Mind a bit too. Like, we had, not issue, I think that's the wrong way to put it. It's like, there was this bit when, Change Your Mind aired that we were like, well, we're not talking about how these people are dictators. We're not talking about that part. But at the same time, the stuff we did get was beautiful. And like the stuff with Steven's identity, I loved. And then it's kind of here where it's like, I wish we delved a little more in Spinel, like not ending up with this really happy ending for her. Like, I feel like we could have gone a little deeper and like talked about, Spinel's, in a more, not mature is not the right way to say it, but like, it feels like we should have put more time into that. Like, we put a lot of time into rehashing everyone's story when we should have, I think, been delving into Spinel more than anything. Okay.
More pro. There should have been more Spinel. We love Spinel. Interesting so far. Takes here. Okay. Now we have, Allie Martin here to give, I guess I'll also give my takes, but, another reaction on the movie. So Allie, overall, love it, like it.
Well, I think I'm on the same page as everybody. It's kind of in the middle, sort of. I like how Delaney said, I liked it. It was okay. That was like my main feel. And like Sarah said, I was like kind of finding some parts disappointing, but the whole time I was smiling. And I think I don't know if I loved Spinel the most out of everybody, but I really enjoyed her character progression. It did feel like it's just, like a huge long episode, which obviously it's supposed to feel like that. But I think the problem is there's not enough like subversion of what the show is normally. And they did that a couple of times, which was very entertaining and hilarious. And I think for the long-term fans, it was really rewarding to see some stuff that was different with the characters. But I think the movie could have benefited from more of that. And I assume we're going to get more, which is why they didn't do that. So I'm kind of hopeful, but overall I enjoyed it.
Okay. Overall enjoyed it. Yeah, no announcement from Cartoon Network on the season 6, but it's coming.
Is it in the future? I have to know.
I don't know. We don't know. We don't really know anything about this.
I need to know. Like, it's
no
hurting.
comment.
And if Connie and Steven don't kiss, I'm gonna
Don't
die.
no comment imply. Yeah, that was another thing that was playing in the room, was we're all anticipating Connie and Steven kissing.
At the end, I was like, kiss.
Did not happen.
They're 16. Give them some time.
But there was a kiss, remember?
Yeah,
On the cheek, yeah.
Yeah, that counts.
Unless
On
he
the
wanted
cheek.
the entire movie.
left wanting about Connie and Steven's kissing. Yes, that's.
Well, then Lion kissed Greg on the cheek, so it's
That
like
was
a
cute.
cinematic parallel.
That's really the kiss we were all waiting for.
As usual, Lion was like the best character in the movie because Lion's the best.
As usual, sure.
And we saw Onion, guys.
We did. We saw
Don't
Onion
think I
and Cat
noticed.
Steven.
Yes, we did see them. Okay, that's all I'll say. See it. Was Ronaldo in this movie?
Yes,
So
he was trying to.
He was trying to take a picture of Amethyst, but it took him like 20 minutes to get into his phone.
Oh yeah, and then she's gone. Yeah,
Password.
that was it basically. Yeah. So okay, we have cries of no Lapidat, no Stevani. We'll get
There
to
was
those
a
things.
lot more Lapis and Bismuth going on.
Yeah, there is.
I am also upset there was no Stevani. This is, again, this is going back to the original issue at hand that Steven and Connie didn't kiss. But
Yeah, okay. Yeah, to wrap things up, this movie was really good. Definitely was an encapsulation of the series, I think, for better and for worse, but like, it's Steven Universe. We didn't do like this big plot movie post, Change Your Minds. I'm someone that's kind of always frustrated with Steven not doing more with its rich mythology, like, and that's definitely a reaction I had to this movie, but also
we had all the mythology, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna have a movie," and I was like, "No."
yeah, and then, but like, I don't know. I've needed to get over this for a long time, and again, you
It's
still have
6 years. You're not getting over it. It's fine.
So, like, for what it was really, really good. Like, I don't know, should we have done something different? I'm not sure. Like, there was a lot of recap in the beginning. At the same time, I think the beginning was very good. I do think the third act was kind of the weakest part of the movie. I think Spinel, I was worried I would not like her, and I think she was kind of the best part of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So
If she didn't look like Harley Quinn, I would have been okay with it.
She looks like Mr. Mime.
Don't make me hate her with the Mr. Mime
That's
take.
all I was
No.
thinking.
Oh,
when we
is
were
that why I
watching.
You're
love
not
her?
wrong.
Okay.
I agree with it.
No, Mr. Okay, the scene of Pink Diamond leaving her waiting for 6,000 years, I think that was very strong. And
Oh yes.
yeah. So I mean, the songs were really, really good. There is like a lot of recap, a lot of encapsulation of like what the show is. I'm not convinced it like played super well with where we are in the show either. I guess a lot of that, we don't need to get into this a lot, but like, I was just baffled the first hour of the movie why the diamonds weren't called in. That kind of makes no sense to me, that they could have just solved this instantaneously.
Like, it would have been like, ring, ring, can you
Yeah.
come here, please, and like take her away.
That's like, I don't know. I want to see if other people have this reaction. That seems to me like such a glaring plot hole. I'm not sure. I mean, it's not really a plot hole. It's just like, this is what we're doing, and the diamonds
Like, he
weren't part of
literally
it.
just gets back. And then he's like, "Oh God, we have a problem." And it's like, "Get the diamonds. They can actually do
Like,
something."
it kind of destroys the stakes because really, like, of course the diamonds would fix it if they're on our side now. But anyway, for the most part, it's not really relevant because we're focusing not on them.
And just like they explain it away by saying, "Oh, you're the only one with healing powers. The diamonds can't do anything." But like, is that true?
Diamonds can do solemn things. I mean, yeah, that is
they
true.
say they literally fixed the planet. That's what happened in Change Your Mind.
Yeah.
Well, they healed the corrupted gems. That's a very specific part, I guess.
Michelle, how do you feel about no Jasper in this movie?
Oh, I was so upset. But like, it's fine. I'm sure that's just means she's off, like doing her own thing, finding herself, doing retreat
Is that the
therapy
season
in
6
the
premiere?
woods.
Is the Jasper alone what she's been doing this whole time?
Oh my god, I hope so. I hope
No,
there's a
absolutely
Jasper.
not.
alone.
Okay, so-
No, okay,
I made my peace with Jasper not being in it.
Here's the thing. There was no mystery girl. When she could have very...
She could have even been at the concert.
Yeah, exactly. She could have very easily been fit in. So I'm just saying, Rebecca Sugar, why are you doing this to me?
Maybe because Pearl, but this is going to be canon. There's
I
something
mean,
still
okay.
not over at this moment.
I mean, I'm still not over being like, yeah, it's a jacket. I'm into the jacket. And it's like, we know why you're into the jacket.
Dude, I really thought that they were gonna be like, oh, you need to get, I don't know, somebody who looks like
Get her
Rose or
girlfriend,
whatever. And I thought that they were gonna, like, pan the mystery girl because she was gonna be at the show. No, they're just gonna have Amethyst shapeshift. Okay. Whatever.
Yeah, okay.
Also, I did really enjoy when they did that, though, and they were like, nope, you can't do it by shooting her in the face. Instead, make her, like, I'm glad that they didn't make it about Rose for Pearl.
yeah.
As irritating as all of that was.
That scene was very interesting. Yeah, I'll also say this movie was like very funny, played a lot on the show, and what we all know about the show, like subverted things, played into things for humorous or dramatic effect. Like, as much as it didn't do that much with the current mythology, that it did a lot with the character work. Obviously, I mean, the whole show is about, like, going back to the character arcs of the main characters that we've done, and, you know, so I guess the question is, like, did we need to add to did we add to the arcs of all the crystal gems, the character growth? Did we need to? We certainly, like, we had to get them back to remembering things by replaying stuff about them. I also thought that part might be, like, more of the movie or more intrusive, like, based on stuff we heard before, but I thought it was, like, fairly appropriately sized, I guess, in the plot. And of course, like, the songs are really amazing. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's easy to focus a lot on the parts we take for granted. And, like, this was incredibly, like, well constructed and animated. Like, where else are we getting something that's like this? This is, like, incredibly unique, this movie.
I couldn't stop staring at Steven. He just looks so pretty.
Yeah. What do you think about the neck, Delaney? That's my main discussion. That's my biggest discussion topic here.
I have to buy that stupid pink jacket now. I hate them making me buy more clothes. Why do they do this? It's also, I look super cute in light blue, so I'm gonna have to replace my...
Yeah, didn't he have a Blue Star shirt? Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get that. I, obviously, you know, we've known he has a neck for however long now. And I've just loved... I mean, he's the only one with a new... Well, other than Connie. Connie's short shorts, I was like, girl! But, anyway, everyone looks great. The only character redesigns were Connie and Steven, because they're the only ones who age. Even Greg, he was like, oh, he's still Greg. But
yeah, as we all know from animation, adults don't age. But
no, they don't.
Yeah. Delaney, what was the biggest thing you reacted to in the movie, or your favorite part?
Okay, well, so we're not going to talk about negative things then. So the best... I think the thing that truly, absolutely stunned me... Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Bismuth did change their wardrobe. I'm sorry. Allie has reminded me. Her overalls were amazing.
Bismuth's overalls were the biggest reaction.
Bismuth's overalls... No, I'm just saying. I want to make it known.
Yeah.
Allie would appreciate that I said this.
We can also have them come in, but yeah.
But, does Lapis's smile count as a change in wardrobe?
Maybe.
She's very smiley.
I will say my absolute favorite part that stunned me was when Greg and Steven fused. Mm-hmm. I was like, what? Mm-hmm. And then he was hot, and I was like, I'm uncomfortable. But, like, it was fine. It was great. I really enjoyed that part. It was, because it was just, like, because when they're talking, I was like, they're not doing that. And then it happened, and I was like, oh my god. So, I think that's probably my favorite part, just because nothing shocked me in this movie. Because we've seen it all before.
Yeah. That's a fair point. I think for me the Greg and Steven fusion was the biggest WTF moment. Like,
absolutely.
What would that be named? Steg?
Steg. It's named Steg. They're Steg.
Steg. Also, does anybody know who that voice actor was?
One of our
voice actor is Ted Leo, by the way.
Ted Leo. Someone told me, Ty, who frequently comments, Ty was texting me, and he said Grievin, and I didn't know what he was talking about, and now I realize that he meant the fusion of Greg and Steven.
Is that the name? I don't know.
Also an option.
I don't know. Okay, yeah, that'll be one of the topics we'll get into soon. Michelle, I have two questions. What was the moment you reacted to the most? At the premiere, you and Alex were at the big premiere. Yeah. What was the biggest reaction in the room to anything?
I mean, it's hard to divorce my own loud screaming voice in that movie.
That's
from
fair.
Everyone
You probably
else.
couldn't hear anyone else.
It was probably Steg, honestly. We all lost our minds.
I would agree with that.
I screamed so loud, and I was like so upset that he was so attractive. I didn't want to be into it, I was, yeah. And his whole like Elvis hair and his voice, and like, oh my god, and like Pearl's up in there like feeling herself, and then the amethyst pearl stuff happens. It was just like my biggest dream in the world. So definitely that. It was so good. And it was legitimately a surprise. I didn't think they were going to fuse. I thought Lapidoth fusion was like way more on the table for this movie than that. But honestly, like, I'm so glad we have Steg now that I've seen it. That was a really high moment for everyone. Yeah. I think Alex would agree.
Okay,
They were like, they had a hat, and they were like, okay, what super weird thing can we do? And they were like, yes, Greg and Stephen fuse.
Yeah, and the song was even really good.
It was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just good.
Okay, since this is what everyone reacted to most, let's stay on the topic here. So Beatrice has thoughts on Stephen and
I
Greg
knew I
fusing.
was going to unleash, but I wasn't prepared for how much it was going to unleash.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so one, I agree, the song's great. He's attractive. Side note, I don't like that he suddenly magically has abs. It's very hard to get abs, and the fact that they don't put in the effort to do it, I mean, that's just, no.
He had gains.
Let Greg have
Exactly. I was like, and these two guys, they've got nice little, like, bellies. Like, where does the abs,
I
where's
guess
the abs
young
coming
Greg,
from?
did young
Like,
Greg have abs? Is that where it came from?
He's probably in pretty good shape.
okay,
yeah.
but like, young Greg is not current Greg, so that's a cheat right there. And unacceptable. As someone who always wants abs, this is unacceptable. But
Ab envy, okay.
but yeah, I don't know. Okay, how do I say this? For me, I just kind of don't like how okay, context is everything. I understand. There's a build-up, but to basically put the lesbian romance is the toxic, unhealthy romance, the rose, pearl thing, right? That's like, okay, it's bad, it's whatever. And then you have the epitome of male fantasy. A man and his son fused together to create the greatest man, the most attractive man, and they sing to Pearl about independent love, a superior love. To me, that left like a very poor taste in my mouth. And it's like, we see this with like the show has shown us in like with other like lesbian romances, well, like depending on how you want to read it. Like for instance with Garnet, like Sapphire and Ruby, it's not unhealthy, but they literally become one person. Like that is dependence if that's not dependence. And it's like the healthy version, yes, you become one person who's stronger and better. But then you have Pearl and Rose, which is like the unhealthy version. And then suddenly here's the heterosexual like counter to it, and it's completely like independent love, like it's like completely healthy. It's the ideal. You're free. You're able to do it. That is the positive thing you should strive for. And that to me left a very poor taste in my mouth. So that is like my initial like thoughts on it, at least coming like after what it's been like 20 minutes since we've seen the movie. Like I saw that and I thought, really? This is what you want to say? And I mean, and the lead up to it was basically Pearl being a servant to Greg. And even though Greg doesn't like it, he's creeped out by it, so is everybody else. And it's like, I don't know. I just because you find it, you're creeped out, but just because you're calling out the creeped outness does not cancel the taste of creeped outness. And I just didn't like how this was framed. I didn't like how this was presented. Like for me, I just thought, really, this is how you're gonna do, like, a show that's been so great to me. This is what you're doing with your movie. Yeah. That to me, I just didn't like. But again, great song. He's a very attractive man. Does he earn his attractifousness? Absolutely not. Let me see him do a crunch.
The main complaint is that.
But also, like, I don't know. I just found it very, I found it, not, the word isn't privileged. I found it very tone deaf.
So I wouldn't say it's like a heterosexual equivalent, but it's certainly a male one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was an I agree that. So if you're looking at it as a juxtaposition, it's weird. I don't think it's like supposed to be. It is also like right next to the Greg and Pearl subservient, like, yeah. There's some interesting choices.
I mean, it could have been cool, like, if they had randomly just had the pink-haired girl show up, and it's like, or like, maybe she had, like, different style, if everyone gets a different outfit, like, you know, she shows up with a different outfit, and, oh, she doesn't look as much as Rose does, and it's like, oh my god, like, that's how she snaps out of it. Like, when I first saw this whole thing happen, like, oh, before, the Greg-Steven fusion shows up, like, I thought, she's gonna show up. That's what's gonna happen. They're gonna show her, and it's like, and that's what's gonna snap Pearl out of it, because that was the first time we actually saw her have, like, attraction to someone beyond Rose, like, it's freedom, whatever. Or it didn't have to be the pink-haired girl, it could have been anybody else. But, I don't know.
Sarah, what are your reactions to what Beatrice said?
So, all that's really nice and, like, thoughtful and intellectual, but I just love him.
That's fine. I'm not saying he's bad. And I love his song. That's my favorite song, I think, of the movie. That's my favorite song of the movie, I think.
You have to remember in context of, like, the entire show.
Yeah,
I think
also,
that's part of why,
I'm thinking, as I would say, this movie was slightly less gay than the rest of the
Yes,
show.
slightly.
But
It's fine.
Ruby and Sapphire had some incredible moments.
Yes.
Garnet had those were some of my favorite moments.
They weren't even together and they were being gay. It was amazing.
But before we move on, I just want to add that Cade was watching the movie Remote. I wish he was here with me, but he sent me this. He said, "Oh no, how am I supposed to feel about this?" As soon as they fused.
It's very weird that
The dad and
Steven's
the
a
son.
boy, and even without the dad-son element, it's Steven's still a child.
yeah, there's that.
To me, what was uncomfortable about it wasn't that, like, okay, the part that really bothered me is that, like, they were playing it very, like, I can't say this word, sensually?
Sensually?
Oh no.
Thank you. I'm from
Yeah.
Kentucky. I can't say that word. I'm sorry. So that's the part that really bothered me, especially when, like, Pearl comes between his legs. I was like, stop.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I don't remember that, so I had blocked it out, I guess.
Like, that's the, like, I think to me that's the part. Granted, they always did this with Rose and with the flashbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the sexual tension in, like, when Rose is singing to Greg is, like, intense.
Yeah.
But so that's the part that, like, made me super uncomfortable. Everything you said was valid, of course.
I just think that it's just such a perfect example of Greg plus Steven. Like, it's Greg's, like just this want to, like, connect with people with Steven's ability to connect with everybody, and it just means that it's this perfect performer, and I just think it is a little uncomfortable, but I just don't think there's, like, a more perfect version of their fusion that could exist. Because it's just so
this
good.
this was also different than just a regular, normally
Yeah.
we see fusions in battle. This
Yeah.
was not only a fusion, this was them doing a concert. So that's,
Yeah.
this is another aspect. I do want to say, I hadn't thought of it, but I do agree that, in context of Pearl serving Greg, it's bad. Because that part was, like, horrible.
Yeah,
Albeit it's funny because, like, Greg is so viscerally uncomfortable.
Right.
And when Pearl finds out about this, she might kill him. But, which I do think there were some missteps here. And this was probably the big part. Granted, I think this was the literal only way they could reset Pearl's character.
Right, I think it's approached from that angle, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this
Which
scene is still.
I did think it was funny. Like, the first, like, when they do it at first, like, when they first reset Pearl, I'm like, oh god, are we doing this right now? And then it happens to everybody, and I'm like, oh my god, I don't want to do this for 90 minutes.
But I think that's the whole movie. Like, they choose to do, like, jokes instead of, like, I'm not trying to say this in a mean way, I just can't think of the right, like, intellectual way to say it. It's just, like, they choose the funny joke before the, actual deep meaning of what they're saying.
They decided to reset all the characters so we could go through all this again that we went through for, like, 9 seasons, and they were like, okay, we're here now.
But
that took half an hour.
But they had all these jokes because, like, the villain Spinel is, like, this, like, Looney Tunes-esque villain with, like, all this, like, and so they, like, kind of, like, leaned the entire movie into that, and that's for the better and the worse, I think, sometimes, and I think it was a conscious decision to have all these, like, really silly things happen, especially with this fusion, and because they're doing all these silly things, I don't necessarily think they thought they didn't really think there was this problematic element, because it was just fun. Like, because it is just a fun scene with everyone flying through the sky and everyone singing, and it's just, like Beatrice said, I do love that song a lot.
It's one of those things where we have to talk about, in terms of the movie, if you've never seen Steven Universe, this isn't great. Yeah. Now, if you've seen all of Steven Universe, and you know Greg is an idiot, and we love him, and him and Pearl are like awkward divorced parents, it's fine.
Yeah. I will say also, just a random note to add about the sensuality thing. I mean, he is portraying a rock star, right? Which, that is part of it, right? Is to be, like, a very sensual person on stage. So I understand that. But I agree, it's just, just based on the movie itself, on its own, which, that's the thing, I don't know, like, if this is a movie, then I have to take it on its own. If it's just, like, a longer episode, then sure. And yeah, I can't ignore the other episodes, but it's like, there has to be a point where it's like, no, but I have to take this as a movie. And if this is what it's called, Steven Universe the movie, it doesn't read great.
Yeah, it is trying to be an independent thing. I'm not necessarily convinced anything is inherently problematic in what we did. I just think it's a juxtaposition thing.
Yeah, so. I do agree. I think it's the and I mean, granted, I was uncomfortable with the sensuality of it. Oh my god, I said it.
Yeah, good job.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
But I do think I'm glad that you brought it up because it's definitely something I didn't consider when watching it. But it did make me uncomfortable though, so that is something.
Yeah, at least in terms of the Greg Steven fusion, uncomfortable, but also in a good way. I feel like most people probably reacting to that.
I was like, oh my god, they just fused, and then it was like, oh, they have abs, and then it was like, it was a journey to go
I just
on.
love the gem like embedded deep within the abs, like the abs are like pushing out around the gem.
Yeah,
Such a good detail.
we're talking about the song being independent together. It also features Opal.
Oh yeah,
I was not ready for Opal either. I didn't think that was going to happen.
Michelle, I thought this was a big Prometheus scene in the movie.
It was a big Prometheus scene. I was really happy.
I think this is like one of the biggest Prometheus moments in the entire show.
No, it literally is, and that's why I'm like, does this mean anything? Like, if it's crumbs,
Does this mean anything?
Because I always take the Prometheus crumbs, and I'm happy to do that forever. But if it's more, then, I mean, I don't know. What a beautiful world. Maybe they can be independent together, and wouldn't that be a great thing for them? I don't know, like, the whole stag discourse, like, I think those are all really good points. I don't think it bothered me as much, but I think, like, again, if we're gonna think about it in terms of like a continuation of the show versus its own thing, I feel like, yeah, it probably doesn't play as good as a movie. But again, like, half of Stag is also Steven, and Steven has literally told Pearl to think about herself first before in the show. And if that's not a problem, like, why does the Greg aspect feel like more icky in that? And I think, like, I don't know, Pearl's whole situation with Greg is such a tumultuous thing that they both worked really hard to kind of move past and get to this new chapter of their lives without Rose in. And I feel like looking at it that way, having Greg and Steven kind of be like, be your best self, be your true self, be your independent self, isn't necessarily like them telling her as friends, despite like the male aspect, which is like an aspect. And that's,
well, I think it's mainly, we haven't seen
like
anything this masculine before in the show.
Yeah, but like this isn't like a bad kind of masculinity. Like it's very muscly and attractive and commanding, but it's not at the detriment to anyone else, I'd say. And I feel like
that's the shock part, though.
Yeah, like a masculinity like that should be able to exist and be a positive thing. And I feel like that's why it doesn't necessarily bother me that Stig's taking on this form, saying these things. But are those things bad? And is it bad for Pearl? I would say no. So I'm actually like pretty okay with this, but I understand if that's like a point of contention.
I like just what you said there, Michelle. Like, you like triggered something in my brain because like I knew there's something about Steg that I like really connected with, like really like saw, and I think it's that like his masculinity is really performed, and as a trans woman, I really feel that because like I performed that masculinity for years, and like it just feels like that isn't like he's playing a character right now in this song. Like he's doing something specifically to.
He's on stage.
He's on stage, and he's trying to meet up to Pearl's expectations of what she needs to remember stuff. And like, I just think that's a really, I think I could see past that as like with my experiences, but I get why now that like Beatrice, you don't see past, like, it's hard to look past that. It is, because it's really masculine. It's really like.
But I mean, again, like, it's not like that, and I agree, it's like, it's a positive version of masculinity, and I think for me, I can't remove the juxtaposition of the context, but I mean, but at the same time, I also, again, I see the attractiveness, I see the greatness of the song, and I see the performance value, I see all these elements, so it's not like, it's like, oh, this is the worst thing ever, this ruined the movie. But it did similar to my issues with Steven in this movie, that moment made me left something, a bad taste in my mouth is the best way to describe it.
Okay, yeah. Fair. And we'll get more into this type of thing. One last thing with Beatrice, because I think related to this new fusion is the fusions we didn't get so very quickly on No Labrador.
Look, you know what? I don't think it's fair of me to demand it because they were so non-existent in the movie.
I think it's fair of you to demand it.
I will demand it.
You know, like, I didn't know what to expect from this movie. I didn't know there was even a time skip until today.
Somehow.
How? I don't talk about Steven I don't think about Steven unless it's like airing and then I experience it.
Beatrice is a casual. It's okay.
And so for me, it's just kind of like, I thought, at least in the brief moment I had to prepare for this movie, I thought it was going to be more fan service isn't the word, but I thought, like, you know, this is, like, I think it was mentioned before, this was the finale tour. This is them celebrating all this that this world that they've created and these characters that we love. And I thought, okay, so, like, we're gonna get the moments with the ships, like, kind of like the Adventure Time finale, where it's like everyone had that moment and the fans just got what they wanted.
This was not bad.
But this isn't what it is. And again, we have another season, so it's not like this is the end all be all. I guess I just am quite confused as to what the purpose of creating this movie. And so, like, I thought it was going to be one thing, but the purpose ended up being something else. So for me to want,
and we're like, why does this movie exist? Like,
kind of, because
like,
kind of.
Question.
But I mean, we can get into an existential question, but I don't think that's what the pod is for.
Why do any of us?
Yeah. Why are we podcasting right now?
But I will say, I don't know, like, for me, demanding a Lapidot moment is kind of like, that's not what this movie was. So that's why I personally am like, I don't want to spend too much time on that.
But I think there is some talk about, like, the fan service aspect of it, because, like, there was fan service. We saw Opal again. We saw, was it, oh my god, is it Sugar?
I think Opal was a character essential moment. I think there's a lot with Ruby and Sapphire and Garnet, but I think they were
I don't know who was asking.
I would say
it.
Stag was one of the most,
Maybe that's also part of my annoyance, is that we could have had Lapidot, instead we got Stag.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we got Bismuth and overalls, which was fan service.
And she got a sing!
Speaking of Opal one last time, because Michelle, you missed, like, the most important part of the Prometheus thing. Every character, like, remembers stuff, and the last thing they get influenced by is the most important thing. Like, there's the true kind of love, and, like, there's the change for Steven, and the last thing for Pearl is Amethyst. And, like, that's, like, the big thing that finishes the change. Like, I think that's, like, the biggest evidence that Amethyst is, like, the biggest part of Pearl's life now. It's implied. I didn't imply it.
And I mean, to let my fanfic brain in for a second, like, how amazing would it have been, like, a Lapidot moment where one of them forgets, but the other one doesn't, and they have to react to the other not remembering? Like, that would have been beautiful. But, you know, we can't get what we want sometimes, and I'm okay with that. I'm like, you know, that's not what the movie was for, so it's fine. It's fine.
Okay, thank you for that. In terms of Lapis and Peridot, I want to get back to the Greg thing in a second. We'll have some new thoughts on that, I think. But Lapis and Peridot, those are two of my favorite characters, and they were fairly somewhat absent. They had some moments. My favorite moment was the two of them plus Steven comes in, and he's like they're like, oh, we're not going to kill Steven, right? Like that scene, like that. We're over that. I think I love that. Lapis was just so happy. This movie.
She was so happy.
And her pants.
Oh yeah, the pants. Peridot had some really funny lines.
What about all my character development?
Yes,
yeah, my character development. That was fantastic.
That was Peridot line.
That is like my favorite. That might be my favorite line in the whole movie. Was my character development? That was so good.
Yeah, I think, like, if this movie is clearly restrained in its fan service because there wasn't that much Peridot, there wasn't that much Lapidot.
Because if this was fan service, the entire movie would be about Peridot, because Peridot is the best character.
The show seems to, not understand. But there's still been a lot of Peridot. I would like to see more Lapidot, clearly, from the last season. And back to promos, wrapping up, I think that I'm convinced the show is intending that to be a thing at this point. I think it was kind of unclear for a while, but after this movie, I think it's.
Do you really think so? Like, I can't get my hopes up again. It's been
I'm not saying it's gonna, like, be a big thing in the finale, because Steven is, like, not. The show doesn't always necessarily need to give us these big romantic moments. It doesn't think it needs that. But I'm convinced that's the show's intent, even if it doesn't elaborate more on it.
I'm gonna have to ask around at work. Like, I can't get my hopes up.
Don't spoil yourself.
There is a scene at the end where they're all, like, after, I think, I can't remember if it's right before Spinel leaves or after, but when they all start doing, like, their hug, and it's, like, Pearl and Amethyst, or, like, I think Pearl's, like, leaning on Amethyst or something.
That might have been Garnet. I feel like she leans into Garnet, but we'll have to go back and check. I hope it was a Prometheus moment.
Yeah, I definitely agree that Prometheus is probably going to be endgame and might be a little bit more subtle. Like, not to bring the comparison back to Adventure Time, but It's like kind of how Jake and Lady Rainicorn are always being like, oh,
That's not good if that's the
together.
comparison.
I mean, I don't think...
That's true. Like, they're just a thing in the background. Like
Maybe Bubbling as well. But my Sam tidbit of the night, Opal. So Opal is voiced by Amy Mann, who was the bass player in Till Tuesday, an 80s band. And Pearl plays bass, and so did Opal.
This is
So-
great.
Oh my god!
There
I
you
love
go.
it.
That's fun.
is that why Pearl plays bass?
Yeah, that's why Pearl.
It's
plays
canon.
bass.
This is a great
Bass.
tidbit,
Excuse
Sam.
me,
Thank you.
Bass. She
It's a
explained
yeah, she plays bass.
B-A-S.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
but
she
she
does
play-
play bass.
That was
She plays
also a
bass.
great line.
That is how it's spelled.
It was
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah. Okay. Allie, any takes on any of this before I shift gears to Spinel?
Well, I'm definitely on the Opal, well, not the Opal ship, the Prometheus ship. I've been there for a while. I thought I was the
The
only one, to be honest, so
scream.
I'm happy to know you guys are with me. I didn't really think it was, like, making it more clear with that fusion, but it definitely made me scream. I'm sure, I mean, you guys can tell them I screamed. I see where Beatrice was coming from with the Stephen Gregg fusion. It did feel kind of uncomfortable because it was a father-son thing, but at the same time it felt perfect because it was a father-son thing, and in the context, it made sense because of the context before it. With those, can I talk about Spinel? Just because.
Well, yeah. So I want to transition into Spinel. I think it's the biggest part of the movie we haven't gotten too much into yet. So, I mean, I don't think I need to introduce her. I think it's clear what the movie's doing. So, Allie, yeah,
He's the villain.
she's the villain. We
The
sympathize,
sympathetic villain.
with the villain. We learn her emotional plight. She goes back down into the bad territory, and then she goes off with the diamonds at the end, which I want to talk about. But
I appreciated that they did that and not just had her, like, turn a new leaf in the middle. I liked the subversion and then back to evil and then back to sort of good in the end.
Yeah.
That's not all I had to say about her.
Yeah, what else?
I
about
did.
Spinel?
I didn't like her in the beginning. She was too Mickey Mouse, XJ9-esque, and, like, cartoony. It was funny, but...
You mean when she forgot who she was, or at the very, very beginning?
When she forgot who she was. At the very, very beginning, I liked her when she was freaking me out. I mean, I grew to like her because... Well, I was going to say the Greg-Steven fusion was my favorite scene after her backstory because it's very hard relatable for me. Like that, waiting for someone to fulfill a need, but not getting what you were hoping for in the end, and you're just waiting and waiting and, you know.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely felt that backstory a lot, and a lot of what her arc was throughout the entire movie was very #me. And, I can applaud the Crew-niverse for putting that realism in and putting in that element of, this is what abandonment does to people. It kind of, doesn't settle well in their brains. I appreciate that, but at the same time, I predict that rewatches are going to be hard of doing for this movie, because it's just it's too much to handle, yeah.
I also I was not so much disappointed, but it was predictable that it would be Pink's doing, and everything is Pink's fault, and Steven has to fix everything that she messed up, and blah, blah, blah.
This is also the first time it was really bad. Like, obviously this whole time we're like, Rose isn't the best, and this time she did something awful.
Yeah, that was really, it's probably
it's
one of the
horrible.
worst things
It's
she's
probably
done.
the worst thing she's done.
Rose was worse.
And then
She's done
they
some pretty
didn't-
bad things.
They didn't talk about it. Like, Stephen really is just like, I'm not really shocked this happened, which I was like, ooh, boy.
That says a lot, yeah.
I was like, hug him. Give him a hug. Which
Rose being all, mysterious and stuff gives them, I guess, a way to retcon things into existence. You know what I mean?
It's retconning just because,
adding
it just,
to what
it's
they have,
adding.
right? Yeah.
It's adding.
which we know she's not a good person, but this was like, oh my god. Which
Yeah,
I'm
it was
not saying
pretty-
it was. I think that's actually really, that was the strongest part of the movie, was that we had a believable villain, because, they're granted, and obviously we'll probably talk into, because we can compare villains. Everyone on this show has been a villain at one point, before Steven was like, come here, give me a hug. So,
Yeah.
For me, it's between White Diamond and Spinel. White Diamond is just pure terrifying.
In terms of what? Between the best
for
villain?
me, when she's in in the finale episodes, where it's just her design, the music when she tears out his gem is scary, and then, but obviously now she's just hilarious. But then then Spinel is, she has suffered real pain. And, this isn't vague in the way Lapis's pain is. We know what happened to Lapis, but we don't talk about it. But then we see what happened to her, and it's horrible. And then you don't feel bad. You don't feel bad. Well, okay, I did feel bad when she punched Steven and he bled, because that's horrible. Don't touch my baby. But
He's
like,
older now.
Yeah, he's still my baby.
He's always
He
baby.
shouldn't get punched in the face. And you feel bad for both of them because Steven shouldn't have to deal with this, and Spinel can't. It's hard to deal with the fact that she's not here anymore, and all that's left is Steven.
Can I say a thing?
Yes.
So, watching this a second time, I had like kind of an epiphany about Spinel. I feel like Spinel's like her situation with Rose is very similar but different from Pearl. Like, I feel like those are two people that were Rose was very important to both of them in slightly different ways, but like they have to deal with the aftermath and the fact that she couldn't give them what they needed. Essentially, I feel like Pearl's message is more like, don't lose yourself in this other person. You need to be your own person. You can't just like be their thing. Whereas I feel like Spinel's more like, you need things from someone, and if they can't give that to you, or if they have you around for a while but then they leave you to move on to other things and you're like left in the dust to settle, that's really bad too. And like I couldn't get over the fact that like when Steven's crawling up the poison dispenser thing, it gave me such flashbacks to Rose's Scabbard, because Rose's Scabbard is my favorite episode, when Steven's climbing up the floating thing, and it's almost like perfect shot for shot, like the other characters on the other corner, like having their upset emotional moment about Rose, and Steven's over there to try to like grapple with the intensity of this realization and do his best as a friend. And I feel like, again, like that's one of the ways this movie is such a good callback to like the strongest moments of the show, because I feel like all Steven can do is be like the best friend in the moment, and sometimes that's not enough. Like I think there's a really good reason for why Spinel was like, I can't start over with you. I already messed up so bad. I don't really know how to be a good friend. I need someone fresh, and she gets that. So I just like, I don't know. I feel like there are so many layers to this that like it might take a while to kind of pull apart. But like, again, like if we're talking about serving older fans and having things make sense in like relation to other characters and how they build on, say, like someone like Rose, who's impacted like a lot of people's lives, Spinel's such a good character for that. And I really appreciate her.
Yeah, I really like what you said about her going with the diamonds at the end, because that's something I was uncomfortable with watching. So that's a good reasoning for why that's happening.
Well, it's because the diamonds are uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly like, I don't know, it seems unhealthy to have her as like a pink diamond replacement for them, but, I don't know, maybe it'll help in some way. Okay, I like starting over with someone else for Spinel.
Well, Spinel just wants to play, and then the diamonds just want a baby.
Yeah,
so
they
it
do just
kind of
want a baby.
works.
Yeah.
It works out.
Oh, she's
yeah.
adopted.
Yeah,
She's the
I
baby.
like, she's got her moms
Horrifically
now, just like
uncomfortable.
Steven.
I'm
But
your
it's because
mom
they're
now.
all like, this is like, we talk about dysfunctional families, and there's like this, which is like, oh my god.
I kind of wonder though. So my first thing, like when Spinel showed up, I was like, "Oh, was she Pink's first pearl? Like, what is that? Like, what is this relationship?" But I wonder if like they have the little like toy gems and they have pearls. Well,
Or the pebbles.
Aren't pearls supposed to also entertain? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, which one did sing for which one? Yellow purple, yellow diamond. Something like that.
Blue
They
Pearl.
sang.
Blue pearl, yeah.
Yeah.
So like I guess the pearls are more
So it's
mature.
more servants, and these are more
They're
friends.
fancier.
Yeah.
I see there. I think there's a lot of comparisons. I think a lot of themes are here about how making something to be subservient for someone else is going to lead to a lot of problems. Obviously, like, you know, I think this is similar to like how there's a lot of crap with pearls, like, and it's just about how, I don't know, maybe like commentary on how society makes certain people to feel subservient to others and how that's like really bad and stuff. I don't know. I don't think I think vaguely delves into that. I like a lot of what Michelle said about Spinel and what, was going through with it. Steven. I think with Spinel is just very, she comes in, out of nowhere, acting, all over the place, seems really OP. And from that, it's just very satisfying that she got a good justification, I think, for why she was everything. Like, I feel like that very rarely happens, that you're like, I don't know about this. And then it's like, oh, okay. Like, this is like, that scene is just so good with like, she's abandoned for 6,000 years. Yeah, okay, I see it. And
Yeah, I'd be kind of mad too.
yeah.
Only kind of, though.
Yeah.
Only a
and
little bit.
I also like that she goes, back around. I feel like that's realistic. In terms of, this is another part of my reaction to the movie is definitely like, oh, okay, this is another thing that Rose did wrong, that we've done that a lot. But if this is just like the summary of Steven Universe, then of course it's another thing that Rose does wrong. That's like the whole show. So like there's just a lot of things that it's like, oh, we're doing that again.
Well, he also brought
yeah.
peace to the universe. That's the only thing that would have made somebody mad enough to come kill him.
Apparently.
I have a thought. Where did Spinel get this giant poison drill?
I really hate that they didn't explain that.
Like, was that just in the garden? Where did she get it?
She was on the garden and then she went to Earth. Did she make a pit stop to get the giant thing?
She definitely had to.
Why is she the only person who has the power to, like, lift it up and down?
Yeah,
are there more Spinels?
Are there more? Well,
maybe there are.
The drill thing is one of the big plot. Not necessarily. And it's not like a plot hole. It's just something the movie didn't care about explaining.
Well, to me, it seems like they just made Spinel for pink.
Well, she's pink.
Yeah,
I mean, she is pink.
She was either the pink Spinel or she's the one of a kind. I'm not clear on that, but that's a good question.
Oh, it's like, so you saw how her gem was heart cut? Well, I guess all the different gems have different cuts.
Right.
But, it's like the little heart cut was made specially for pink. Also, I want to know, how did her gem get upside down?
Because
That was never
she was upset.
explained.
It flipped when she got her memory back, when she got mad, and then she got that cool mascara stuff on her face.
Yeah, but, like, nobody else's gems flip.
I think that was symbolic of
my
evil
God.
now, then good. I don't know, but yeah.
That's too on the nose for me. Just pick it in one spot, man.
Steven
Put it in one
Universe is
spot.
very on the nose.
No,
as a
if
show.
you're going to redesign, you should be able... Hey, if you go into create a gem, you should be able to go in there and flip your gem, okay? No one's felt like it. She's just the first one who thought of it. It's cool.
Yeah, I buy the gem flipping. Beatrice, what do you think? What are your Spinel thoughts that you got to get off your chest there?
Well, I just have like a theory.
Okay.
So, okay. You know how she's like kind of looks like Mickey Mouse?
I know where this is
Yeah,
going.
she's very based on old time
yeah,
animation, Mickey
totally.
Mouse, yeah.
So I think this is commentary on Disney.
Ooh.
I think they are showing you a character who's incapable of reading the room, of dealing with reality, and is just obsessed with trying to make you happy. And Disney's kind of like that.
Oh god.
with all the redoing of all the movies. And...
Not just that, but I think Disney just has a way of just being this source of like, I'm your pal. I am constantly going to be this source of comfort in your life because I am your friend. That's kind of the image Disney has. And then it's like, yes, but you gotta, what if like we're going through some stuff, or also like Disney's inability to change. That's a whole thing. Like, it's like inability to grow. And then you have like these characters. It's like an older style of animation. So it kind of shows like kind of that outdatedness. It kind of really is emphasized. So it kind of represents this problem in animation overall, where you have this character or this company that is brainwashing children and has so much influence over society, just trying to smother us with love, when in reality, we just want to deal with reality. Idea.
Wow, okay.
Theory.
Deep.
That is
Mic
something.
drop. Okay.
But that's just a theory. A Beatrice theory.
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun.
I have no thoughts on that, but that's...
I definitely think that's interesting. Thank you, Beatrice.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Okay,
You're welcome.
thank you, Beatrice. Michelle and Delaney, any other aspects of Spinel, I feel like, that we haven't talked about? I mean, she is... when I heard like there was going to be a lot of references to old timey animation and stuff, and it's like this character is going to move in that way, I was a little bit worried about
I
that.
told you guys that? Why wasn't
There's-
that a surprise? It was a surprise to me.
There's reviews a lot. But I was worried, but it was like, I think it was pretty deftly and subtly handled. Yeah.
Well, it was just all encompassed in her character.
Yeah, it was
Exactly.
limited to her, and it was just an aspect of her. So I really like how that was done. And she has this weapon. Blanking on what it was. The scythe.
Oh, the scythe, yeah.
Yeah, the
exactly.
scythe.
Rejuvenator.
Yeah, the Rejuvenator.
Yeah. That resets them. Yeah, that weapon was OP.
Well, I'm glad
but-
they didn't have that, like, 2 seasons ago.
That would have been bad.
Yeah. It's like, it's like, shouldn't the diamonds have a handle on this? I don't know.
Maybe there was just
Well,
a
Where'd she
bunch
get
of-
it from?
She got it from
Who
the same
knows?
place she got the drill. She
Yeah,
made a pit
okay.
stop to
Oh,
Homeworld
yeah.
and
Yeah.
like broke into the
Where'd she get
diamonds
that?
lair, and she just like stole all their stuff.
Yeah, that's what I think honestly probably happened.
It would be nice to know, to have like just one line about that. Sarah, what are your Spinel thoughts?
Okay, so do you want my geology thoughts or do you want my like character thoughts?
Well,
Whatever is top of mind.
Top of mind is that I love Spinel. After that is that Spinels are like kind of not a gem. They're like a type of gem which is kind of something for me. Like, they're a group, which is, so like, they're often confused for rubies, which is also interesting, so that's why they're red. But, I just love Spinel. Like, I really love how we start with this menacing character and we get into this Looney Tunes type character, and, at first, like, I love how, like, her singing is just so bouncy and fun and incredible. Like, and I love how, when she moves, like, just the way she's animated, like, we haven't talked about this as much, but, this movie is just so well animated, and Spinel is just, like, the epitome of that, because every scene she's moving, every scene she's doing something
really
different.
Intricate what they're
doing.
Yeah.
So good.
Like, you kind of get, like, numb to it by the end, but it's not easy to, like, animate all that with Spinel every single scene all the time, like, with her arms, like,
very
going all over
bendy
the
and wild. And
it's crazy.
I don't know. I think we take this for granted, but this is, like, the Steven Universe movie, I think, is one of the most, well-produced, animated pieces of media we've ever had in society. Like, I'm not understating that. I think along with Change Your Mind, I just think, like, the level of everything we're getting into is just so high. Alex, I want to use this transition into song thoughts, but how about Spinel's specific song thoughts?
Well, I think that her introduction sequence is, like, as Sarah mentioned, like, her old schoolness, like, it kind of gets introduced really well with that opening song, because even the song itself feels very old-timey, like, boop, 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 boop. It's like kind of an electro swing feel, almost, and while she's singing, and she's got, like, that accent, too, it's kind of like a New Yorkie accent, I'm not sure, like, I can't pin it down exactly, but she's got, like, an old-timey
Hey, what
accent.
are you doing?
Yeah, kind of like that, and so, like, she's singing with this accent, and at the same time, like, this is your introduction to how she moves with, like, her arms spinning into, like, spirals.
And it was
She's,
hard
like,
to watch, too. Like,
Yeah,
it was very difficult to follow. Not in a bad way, though. Like, it was
well,
like,
it was
they did it
definitely
on purpose.
Yeah, it was all over the place, and, like, the way that she manhandled the gems, like, treating Pearl like a toy, and just, like, bouncing her up and down.
Manhandling is a good word.
Yeah. So, like, just Spinel's introduction, was a real, like, bomb moment for me in terms of, like, just, like, how impressive she was coming in, as cartoony as it is, because, like, again, like, we have to deal with the fact that Steven Universe is animated for the most part like most cartoons of the 2010s, so when you're introducing a new style like this, it can be a bit jarring, but I think that the way they did that first scene in particular was, like, a masterclass in how to blend, you wanting to do an homage to old style animation, while still making it look awesome in, like, the modern day.
Yeah, it was blended so much better than I could have thought possible. Yeah, because I knew that was one thing I knew was coming, so I was thinking about, like, how that's going to be done. It was, like, really, really good. Ali, Spinel thoughts overall?
We'll definitely hard agree on the animation. It was perfect. I also thought, I liked the way her song kind of subverted the normal feel of the Steven Universe music. It was very, I think, like Alex said, like, jazzy electro swing, and it was nice. I don't know, I mean, I didn't expect to like her. Like, I went in despising her, and then after we got her backstory, she's my favorite villain in the universe so far.
In the Steven universe?
Yes.
Wow.
In the Steven Galaxy universe, world, etc., etc.
Well, I think
that's
overall,
high praise. One
they
movie.
changed the songs.
What do you mean they changed the songs?
Like,
the styles?
I think every song, like, this was very much, like, I liked the musical, but I was kind of upset that it didn't, like, I was expecting what we always get, and, like, these didn't really feel like songs I could sing to.
They tried a lot of different types, I think, more than normal of songs.
Right, and that was something, like, I just wanted to point that out, that I agree, Spinel's song was probably the most drastically different, but I do think every single song they did a lot of weird things with the rhythms with these songs.
Yeah.
Granted, I think a lot of it was because they were doing it so hard narratively, like, they were literally just running through the exposition of all the characters in the first, like, 5 minutes, so I think that's the main reason they did it.
It was like a real musical, almost.
Yes, yeah, I think that's part of what they were going for, too, was this, I'm not saying it's like Les Miserables levels of, like, literally singing everything, but they were definitely kind of going for that. I do think all the songs were well placed, but I did want to jump in about that, because Spinel's song was different, and I really enjoyed it, but I do think they did a lot with all of the music in the movie about it. They were being I think it was very pointed. The only song that really sounded like, I would say, a, quote-unquote Steven Universe song was when they were singing Disobedient.
Oh, I love that song.
I really enjoyed that, which I think that's why it's one of my favorite, because it actually sounded like what I'm used to hearing.
Yeah, let's talk about all the songs. I think Alex and Michelle can maybe talk about this more than everyone else, just because I'm overwhelmed with the amount of songs and I have a hard time picking them apart, differentiating them. General song thoughts definitely is like a lot of different types of songs. I really liked a lot of them. I think what stands out to me, right, like Happily Ever After, which is a few comes back several times. And
I really enjoyed that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also, I don't know the name of the song, but when they're like, "Come Live in the Palace."
I Adore You?
Yeah, I really liked that song, and I was actually really glad that it got a reprise because that was one of the ones that I really enjoyed. Because I mean, it's creepy, but
the harmonies of all the famous people.
Yeah, it's great. It's beautiful. That's the thing. It just sounds so nice. You're like, oh, this is weird, but I love it.
Yeah. I think it's been we've heard it, but True Kind of Love I think lived up to the hype.
It's the truth.
It's the truth. Okay, so by the way, Cartoon Network, they did the Steven Universe Marathon. They're playing the same promo with that same part of the song for every 15
like
minutes.
72 hours.
It's a good
kind of ruined it for me.
It's the worst
That's
promo.
Well, look, any promo is bad after like 5 or 6
So
times.
just don't repeat the same promo, but it was fine. Alex, take us through the songs. What are the highlights? What are the most notable things?
Well, I know you didn't ask me what was my biggest reaction to the movie, but honestly, when I was watching for the first time, the Happily Ever After sequence at the beginning was kind of my biggest reaction, just because.
What emotion?
Well, it's just like, wow, this is kind of like summarizing the 5 seasons of the show I've watched.
Yeah.
I get to see Dee Dee Magnum Hall really belt it out, telling her story.
Yeah, her part
in,
was
the
best.
And 30 seconds on the bass, and the happiness of Amethyst too, about being a family, and it ends with them recreating the extended intro of them running together in the field. That was a real big applause moment in the audience. So.
Were people applauding a lot? That'd be really annoying.
but hey, we were around a bunch of Steven Universe fans, so it felt very good. And it's okay,
I can't imagine you at a con. That would be
yeah, the Dylan at a con would be very annoyed at why are all these people so happy all the time?
My reaction to all the panels is stop
Well,
doing
it's like when you watch the videos on YouTube and you're like, stop clapping, I can't hear what they're saying, you idiot.
Yeah.
But the volume was very good, so we clapped and they were.
That's
this
good.
was
I feel that's the
enough,
biggest thing. It needs to be super loud.
Yeah, it was a smart enough audience that they stopped clapping when the scene progressed, you know? But anyways, Happily Ever After was a really great sequence. As I already mentioned, Spinel's song went into kind of a swing style, getting you in the mood for what kind of villain she is. Garnet's songs were interesting since they're a lot. I mean, Estelle obviously is an excellent singer, but I think they did her justice by.
What was her other song?
Isn't it Love?
That animation sequence was
pretty.
I think that one might have been my favorite scene of the movie.
Yeah. And her songs were a lot more R&B inflected than I think they usually give her. It kind of harkens back to her original song in season 1 of Stronger Than You.
And we're used to it at this point, but True Kind of Love is very different, I think, from the normal song for the show.
Yeah, but it had been a while since Garnet got these kind of signature songs. So they did a really good job for her. Obviously, Drift Away. Sarah Styles especially kills the singing in that.
Well, I really enjoyed that one.
Remind us what each one is.
Well, Drift Away is when Spinel is singing about being left behind by a pink diamond.
That sequence. Yeah,
so,
I think that's really what sells. That entire
was
sequence was the song.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's hear it. Well, Independent Together is the Stegs song. I'm gonna say, they're all good songs, but, if I had to pick a weakest one, at least for me, that would be it, just because, I don't know, it's, generic rockness, and I don't know.
I would pick the Garnet song as the weakest one, because Beatrice and I were like, is this a song? Really?
Oh, no. I liked it.
What about I really liked, Amethyst and Steven's song.
Yes!
Yes!
And actually, I think that's the strongest part of the movie. The entire, the part where, I was irritated that we had to go through everybody again, and, they had to remember, but I think Steven and that's the one part that made it work for me, was that song, and it was super cute, and then they're best friends, and she remembers, and it's so cute. I think that's they did it 4 times, that's the only one that worked.
I also
Even
hard
when
agree.
Amethyst really felt like they were actually siblings. He really felt like he was her brother during that song.
Yeah.
I feel like that's such a nice side of Steven we hardly ever see, and the dynamic with Amethyst is just like so particular to that too. So yeah, I agree. Like I really like the song for kind of serving their relationship in that specific way too.
And it's such a good song. And like when Steven starts to dance, like their little like little tap, it was so great. Like that entire sequence, like so Stag was the part that stunned me into silence. But then I do agree that the beginning, the Happily Ever After is just like really, I mean, it sets the mood for the whole movie and it's beautiful and I will be singing that song. But then really I think what really sold the movie to me was the Amethyst. Was the Amethyst and Steven song, which I have no idea what it's called.
Well, I like the fact that Amethyst was the first gem to come back.
Right,
Because
yes.
it keeps in the theme that she's the most grown-up crystal gem, and she knows what she's doing, and the connection to Steven also. I don't want to say it's the strongest, but they definitely relate to each other the most, so it makes sense. Yeah.
Pearl and Garnet take care of Steven, but Amethyst is like Steven's buddy.
Right.
Which I assume that song is No Matter What.
Yeah,
probably.
No matter what.
Yeah.
How did he tap with sandals?
Magic.
Practice from Mr. Greg. They all tap dance there. That's where they learned.
That's true. Mr. Greg was good preparation for everyone involved for this much
It
singing.
was.
Not the crew, the characters. But so Sam, what are your music thoughts?
So, just to let you guys know, listeners, True Kind of Love, all of these people have been harassing me with it for the past 24 hours or so.
Seems like I hate it forever.
God, like that. Like they've been singing it and I've just been going nuts. I think that my favorite song out of this whole entire movie was Disobedient.
It's so
obviously, what was the beginning songs and most of the other songs are more, musical-esque. Like, the happy ending song, it's very Belle, very, quiet mountain town from South Park, and the grand tradition of, oh, we're gonna make an animated musical, let's have the scene setting song, and that is what it is. It's not bad, that just isn't my cup of tea. Disobedient, I think, like, if you read the beginning credits, Mike Kroll worked on, like, a couple songs for the movie, right? I think this is his contribution, and I love it. Just speaks to the working person, man. All about Sadie.
I thought it was going to be The Working Dead because the way they said it.
Yeah. Is this the best Sadie Killer and the Suspect song?
Yes.
It's really good.
Oh, well, I don't know. This one and Working Dead are really good. I'm surprised that Amethyst is their drummer, and okay, little Sam nitpick. It did bother me that the drums kept going when she was away from the kit and turning into Rose. Just saying, like,
That's fair.
Yeah, it's magic drumming, I guess. Who knows? Maybe she has like a tail that
Does
she
he not
shapeshifts.
normally have a drummer?
No, I thought it was just a drum machine.
Yeah, because
I don't know.
Because
I'd have to
Sour
go back
Cream
and
does
look.
he does the mixing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just want to re-listen to a lot of these. My reaction, having seen this once, is like, okay, I want to go back and listen to everything. Like, there's so many good things. I forgot. I really like.
Give me the soundtrack right now.
To the South Park movie list because it's actually a similar format.
Twitter. Who's that? I'll share it. Hang on.
Share what on Twitter?
The digital soundtrack's out now. There you
we
go.
can buy it. Yeah. They're releasing it right away. Yeah, so we can buy it. Michelle, what haven't we talked about from the movie that you were most hype about?
We saw Cat Stephen twice.
Yeah,
Cat Stephen. Oh
Of
no!
course.
I mean, I was kind of surprised Connie wasn't more in it. Like, I get the
Connie just kind of jumped in at the end.
she's
Yeah,
in space camp. She
comes
helped.
through a portal.
she's too busy at
She
Space
helped
Camp.
the
Space Camp is pretty funny,
civilians, but it was very
considering,
much like Steven's showdown with Spinel, which I think is like a fine decision, but I always like get conscious of Connie not having as much to do, even though she's proven to be a very capable character. I feel like in Change Your Mind, she was a lot more prominent than she was in this movie. And like, that's fine, but like, I kind of wish she'd been in it a little more. Other stuff to talk about. I mean, so is the Earth not poisoned anymore? Is it fine now?
they cleaned it up, and he kissed the ground a bunch.
Yeah.
and there you go.
He did kiss
kissed
the ground
everywhere.
a bunch. I guess
was
fine.
I was hoping that this would be the resurgence of the alternate Earth theory. They were going to be like, okay, so first off, Peridot said that this would destroy, like, all living things on Earth. It just seems localized to Beach City, honestly.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was hoping, oh yeah, the Earth's all ruined, we're gonna find a new planet, and then me and Dylan will be right, but obviously not.
That would lead to the new planet. That'd be...
It just sort of bothered me at the end, like, oh, the diamonds come in, it's like, oh, your planet, what happened? And they just don't do anything!
I thought they would help too, yeah, they were like, is it all, like, at first, they're like, what's that smell? I was like, it's the toxin, and I was like, oh no, it's just what Earth smells like.
And honestly, I thought that, like, at the end, it was kind of like, oh, what are they gonna do about it? Because, like, there was a couple minutes between the whole, cross dissolves of the Earth being cleaned up, or Beach City being cleaned up, rather, and, everything with Spinel. I was like, oh, are they just gonna spend season 6 fixing the Earth again? Is that what the next season's gonna be?
Season 6 is just Steven kissing the ground
Yeah.
across
I
the
would
planet.
watch it, yeah.
For like 8 hours.
Sam, this is the thing that stands out to me that we haven't. We talked about this in the beginning, but you weren't a fan of the Steven. I was missing the thing. I was missing was change moment. What's the brief reason for that?
Brief reason for that is because, okay, so change your mind, really big thing, really culmination of his character, realizing, oh, this is who I am, yada, yada, yada. I would think that he, as a character, as a person, would already know that lesson. And he wouldn't have to be like, oh, yeah, change.
Is it, since this movie is a redoing of the seasons we've seen, is that just a redoing of a big message?
I guess so, but, like, that doesn't cut it for me.
Well, what irritated me was that all of the characters actually repeated what they did.
Yeah,
and then Steven just says something out loud, and I was like, what?
Well, because he comes to the realization, I guess, and that's the most important part, right?
I think that's the part that's, like, not connecting, because, like, Pearl, like, granted, they sing to Pearl, but they literally make Pearl independent. Like, they do it, like, they separate them. Mm-hmm. And then they literally make Garnet fuse again, so that worked. And then Amethyst, it just, they redid the train ride. Like, they redid, like, that adventure that Steven and Amethyst went on. And it just doesn't connect, because, yes, this entire movie was everything Steven's gone through, except not really, because Steven doesn't learn anything, because...
Yes, he doesn't learn anything, and I was like...
Because he's already learned it.
Where does this movie get off being like, oh yeah, all I needed to do was just think about how much I've changed? Like, okay, whatever, man. I'm over.
The thing is, like, Steven doesn't forget anything.
Yeah,
like, everyone else forgets. And Steven, and I think that's the part that really bothered me, was that Steven didn't have anything to learn. And that's why I think I feel so bad for him in this movie, because I'm like, leave him alone. And because I just feel bad for Steven and Spinel the whole time. And then, of course, I really felt bad for him when Spinel was like, you were going to turn me back. And it was like, no, he wasn't. Jesus. And I think that's where they missed the mark. Like, it's kind of funny, because they've done so well with Steven the entire series, and they make a movie about him and they can't hit it. But there just isn't anything, like, I'm curious what season 6 is going to be, because, like,
we'll see.
Steven figured out who he was. That was what Change Your Mind was about, was Steven's like, I'm me. I'm not my mom. I'm not Pink Diamond. I'm me. And he's like, I don't have to worry. Like, he's like, I'm me, and that's all I have to be, and I'm not responsible for what my mom did. I'm just me. But he keeps trying anyway, because, he's a good person. And, he fixed Homeworld, and they've made, also them making Little Homeworld is, like, the cutest thing ever. But
oh yeah, I want to mention I love the idea.
Little Homeworld.
That's
one of my favorite parts.
Sits
of the
alone,
movie.
like that. That's enough.
Well,
I really like.
Well, they kept saying it, and I was like, "What are they talking about?" And then we went there, and I was like, "This is great."
Yeah. The Steven, that change scene and the stuff Steven was going through, I agree. That wasn't super clicking for me. That's one of the biggest things I'm going to be looking for on rewatch. I want to give the benefit of the doubt for the movie. I'll see. Yeah,
and I'll say, I get the annoyance with it, because I think Sam makes clear, like, Steven, since his character has already come so far in the show, so it's kind of hard to get across that he's still changing, because he's already at a mature place. I guess at the beginning they're setting up, okay, well, I've done everything I need to do. I'm fine. It's just, but like that doesn't, I mean, that feels earned in the eyes of us. It doesn't feel like a problem. So that's why it feels weird when at the end it's like, no, I gotta keep working.
Well, that's
so, like,
fine, but he doesn't. Like, that's the thing. Like,
right. So, like, I'm saying, like, that part feels weird, but also, I am interested to, like, hear other people talk about this, because this sounds to me kind of similar to the discussion had at the end of Change Your Mind as well, about like how it about how the third act handles the themes that it's setting up in the first couple of acts.
Yeah,
and I wonder if that's
totally
beginning to be like an issue with Steven Universe, to like try and like treating these like very big overarching ideas, but maybe not being able to like fully tie them together, since they're so interested in just kind of this general thematicness as opposed to like a specific answer to certain problems.
well, I think they were really close here. Like, I thought Steven was going to understand that he couldn't help Spinel. That Spinel needed a friend, and it couldn't be Steven. And I was like, yes, we're getting somewhere,
I think we kind of did that.
Got that though, yeah. She didn't stay with him.
But then, like, she did get a solution. Like, but then I felt like the diamonds were a really easy solution. But it works though, because they're super creepy, and Steven shouldn't go there.
Yeah. I think good points about wrapping stuff up, although I think Change Your Mind's third act was so good. What's Alex, what's anything else we haven't talked about too much yet?
Oh man. I think we've hit all the major stuff,
Okay.
but like in general, just, yes, Steven Universe, the movie, I think as a whole completes my fan servicey genes. So like it's
Without Lapidat?
Yeah, look, there's little season sits. we can live. And look, there was a lot of Happy Lapis, and that was really
Happy Lappy, yeah.
That's like a good step, you know?
that
And she was
really
cracking jokes, and they weren't self-deprecating.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was really striking. I think that was one of my favorite parts too of the movie.
Yeah, so, and also, like, yes, I think somebody mentioned earlier the music isn't as catchy as they would like, and I will say, I think that this is probably, like, one of the group of songs that I'll probably be more willing to re-listen to as opposed to other songs in the show. So,
Take that back.
Yeah, like,
It's a personal
I
thing.
think it diversified itself, and we loved what the other music was, but I like it doing new things here with the music. You know,
I want them all to be
disappointed they didn't
ukulele
put-
songs. All of them.
They didn't put the Cookie Cat rap in there. Like, come
Oh
on.
my God, that's going too far back.
No, we
The
need that one. That's a classic. It's the classic.
Ukulele reminds me of the Mau Mau parody they did of Steven Universe.
Oh my
Fantastic.
God.
Oh my god, I
it
need to.
is- I love
I've
it. I
seen
love it so
parts
much.
of it. I need to watch it.
Tangent.
I just saw the scene. I haven't seen none else.
Like
in it.
Steven Universe, like as cats, that's the only way it could improve itself. So I need to watch it.
I think we also had parodies within this movie of Steven Universe. Steve, at one point, Steven's like, I'll go talk to her," and then she's like, that song's not going to change everything."
Exactly.
So I feel like it's commenting
Spinel's
on
aware
itself.
she's breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah,
also,
thank you,
like,
Spinel.
I'm not sure if this counts as parody, but like, there's good meta jokes from Peridot, especially. Oh no, my character
Yeah,
development.
That was
we
the
mentioned
best
that.
part.
That was
the best.
probably the best line.
What
yeah.
about Steven's character development, man?
Okay, yeah,
I
that's our
mean,
point of contention.
Again, like, I don't feel that, like, anger about Steven saying the change thing.
I'm so pumped up, Michelle.
I know
over you.
you
Don't
understand. I think it makes sense, but I think it kind of ties back to what Alex is saying. Like, this is very much in the same vein of, like, thematically, what does it mean? The same way that the change your mind thing is. Like, if you're like, oh, you can't change a dictator's mind, that's, like, true and valid, and we could talk about that. But the idea that people can change, I think, is a very hopeful message that, like, I would appreciate seeing more, like, penetrating the minds of society, frankly.
Well, this felt more like saying things out loud that weren't related to the conversation.
I mean, I guess. I mean,
Like, that's what it felt like
Yeah.
watching the fight. Like, that's literally what it felt like.
because, like, Steven was struggling with his powers, but not his sense of self anymore. So I can see that.
Like, literally, I was like, are we, what? Like, it didn't make any sense.
But I think it's kind of similar also to, like, Garnet. She had to realize, like, oh, like, the truth is, like, what I was missing. Like, she has her word moment where she has to have that thing to find her missing piece.
Garnet's
And change
literally
was that for
walking
Steven. And I'm like, I don't know. I think for Steven's character, I think it makes sense. He has changed a lot. I mean, like, he's always been an empathetic, caring person, but he has grown to occasions, and he has not, like, gotten through to everyone. There's still Eyeball. She still might hate him, frankly. That might have been his... Yeah, no, that was... Yeah, she's still playing his face somewhere. But like, I do think, I don't know, just like what Steven represents is such like a pivotal part of the thesis of the show. And I think in that way, having change be the thing he's reminded of that gives him the strength to keep fighting, like that might be really trite, but I think it's also kind of glorious just looking at it from like a thesis of the show perspective.
Yeah, I like that as the wrap up on that discussion. We'll put a pin on that, but yeah, I think that's the intent, is what Michelle said at the end. Okay, people are starting to dab and stuff in here, so we're gonna wrap up.
Oh dear.
It's devolved. Yeah, Delaney, two sentence conclusion to this discussion.
It was okay, and I liked it. That's it.
Again, I feel like those contradict, but okay.
You can like things that aren't transcendent.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. Was this trend? I talk a lot about media being transcendent. Yeah,
I'm interested to see how my girlfriend feels about it.
Okay,
because she missed it and she's mad about it.
Okay, I gotta watch it together, right?
Yep.
Okay, that'll be good. Michelle, final sentence on this.
I think they did a really good job based on their clear goals with this movie, and it filled me with so much unbridled joy. So to me, that's a job well done in of itself.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like that. A lot of joy watching this movie,
Yeah.
which is like, all our complaints aside, that's like really big. Sam, final thoughts.
It was fine, and I'll probably not watch it again for months to years. But I'll listen to the songs.
Tomorrow.
Dude, I have not rewatched Change Your Mind since it aired. We caught like a little bit of it at the end of the marathon.
We watched the end, but yeah.
But yeah, so I'll watch it again when I do my big Steven Universe rewatch in like, I don't know,
You
5
mean when
years.
Dylan makes us rank all the episodes?
Yes.
That's not
yes,
happening.
that's exactly when.
We're not doing that.
We're only not doing that because Dylan doesn't want to rewatch the first 20 episodes of the show.
Can I skip the Onion episodes in my rewatch?
No, he's the best.
Okay, I heard yes. Okay, so Beatrice.
I just want to say that the movie brought us together, and I was able to watch it with everyone. So even though there are elements of it that I dislike, I am thankful for it.
Okay.
Here.
Yay. That was sweet. Yeah, I agree. Alex, what are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for existing on this podcast.
What is this, Thanksgiving? Are we saying all what we're thankful for around the table?
Hey, Steven Universe the movie is about being thankful for the changes that you've been able to make in your life, okay?
Thanks
When
to
being
this
attacked by
podcast and
6 space diamonds.
Yeah, and thanks to Steven Universe, I've been able to I hope, become a more empathetic person and be able to make connections to people. And I think that this movie is a good culmination of that. And also, I just want to say, remember when the show is about Steven and the Crystal Gems? Well, I think that this movie is a good job of, like, giving the focus
That's
to
true.
Steven and the Crystal Gems.
That was the discourse in the fandom for a while. It's like, what happened to the Crystal Gems? This is a big
too many boardies, man.
Yeah, too many boardies and too many diamonds. Too many diamonds. And you're there at the beginning, at the end.
But we're not Onion. That's not what we're talking about. Allie, what are your final thoughts?
Okay, 2 disappointing things. No Mystery Girl.
Yes, no Mystery Girl.
A Mystery Girl is like a one episode. Okay.
She's worth it. She's worth
Thank you.
I like her too, but this is
Okay, second disappointing thing, that last scene where everyone's wearing those feather costumes, I did not, like, I know it was meant to be, like, theater-esque.
Yeah.
It made no sense and I hated it.
But they all look like peacocks, so it was okay. I liked it.
So good in his pink feathers.
I agree. Now I'm going to need
the
suit also.
Speaking of the intro and the outro, we'd like the storybook style beginning and then closing.
The storybook style was really great.
It was like a gay Disney movie. Like, I love that
like
aesthetic.
Wow.
What
if we get a
movie?
gay
That's
gay
great.
Disney? Yeah.
And we get
Frozen
Connie
2,
at the end.
JK.
They included Connie with the crystal gems. So that was nice.
Yeah. Allie.
Just final take, no Jasper, perfect. Thank you.
Michelle's coming for you. Michelle's gonna.
With that take.
And now we're going to end while Allie is brutally murdered.
Yeah, good thing Michelle's not here with us. She would.
Redemption.
Sarah.
I didn't get a chance to say like how much I loved all the songs in this. Like I don't have them memorized, but like with the musical, I kind of really like that. So I like the songs, but I don't have them memorized. It means I want to listen to them a bunch more, get them memorized. It's like that's exciting because with a lot of Rebecca's songs, like I love them and they're catchy immediately. But I don't always go back to listen to them a ton just because like I know them, like they're in my brain. And these ones I want to go back and just like listening to them over and over and over and over again because I really like all of it.
Okay. Yes, definitely. That's that's going to be my next thing is re-listening to a lot of the songs, and we watch the movie because I will probably we'll see. It's long, but it's 90 minutes. That's a lot, but yeah, we'll want to rewatch this, and we'll keep talking about the Steven Universe movie here at the Overly Animated Podcast. Let us know what you thought of the movie at overlyanimated.com and our Discord at overlyanimated.com/Discord, or in the YouTube comments for this, anywhere. And we'll probably have more podcasts to come on this. We might have some sort of reaction video of us watching. We'll see. I don't know. Some extra behind the scenes content. Allie's in charge of that.
Maybe there's video of the dabbing. Who knows?
Oh, God. I hope not. If you enjoyed this, consider supporting us via Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to our current patrons, especially our Patreon podcast. Sam, aka Yosemite Sam, is that you?
I don't think that's me. I think that's another
Sam. Oh, you're
Sam.
Suitcase Sam. Oh, okay, thank you, other Sam. And thanks as always to our patron executive producers, Ryan, Steve, Alex, Beatrice, Hugh, Michael, and Needle. Yes, shout out to Needle. So, I don't know why. I just want to shout out Needle, okay?
He's here.
Needle's
He's here in spirit, yeah.
He's at this point in the podcast.
Shout out to Alex's cat, Neo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Neo at any point.
I think he's in the room somewhere.
Is Neo behind the... Okay, so...
Ah, darn.
Okay, so... Thank you guys for listening. Hope this sounds okay with everyone on all of... Eager to edit it. Okay, thanks guys. See you next time. Bye.
It's the truth.
It's the truth.